Good afternoon, and welcome to our broadcast from Glenwood Lutheran Church on this sunny, very warm Wednesday at the end of July. Today is, of course, July 26th, and today is a calendar anniversary for a Jewish Remembrance Day. The name is Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is a day celebrated in I shouldn't say celebrated, observed on the ninth day of the particular month, Jewish month. And it commemorates twice the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. The first temple, reputedly made by Solomon, King Solomon, during the Old Testament times, was destroyed in 423. It was burned by the invading Babylonians, and with it then much of the center of worship and of religious observance for the people. And after this, they were then carried off. The ones that were left, and the ones who hadn't been conquered by the Assyrians sometime earlier, the ones in the southern kingdom and in Jerusalem were carried off and dispersed by the Babylonians. Eventually, they return. Eventually, they form a national identity, although it's not necessarily as a separate country, except for a time when they were independent as a revolution going on, and finally conquered by the Romans. After that, the Romans took over the country, administered it as one of their provinces under their command. And if you think of the time of Jesus, this is a time when Rome ruled the country of Israel, and there were puppet rulers there, and they allowed a certain amount of privilege and a certain amount of religious independence to the people of Israel. During this time, actually before it, then a second temple was built. And the second temple was built well before the time of Jesus, considered one of Herod's temple, it's often referred to, although it's erected over a length of time and doesn't necessarily involve just one of the King Herods that we hear about. It's erected, and we're told it's one of the wonders of the ancient world. It's incredible. And it's the center, of course, of Jewish worship, Jewish sacrifice, Jewish national identity. However, in the years following Jesus, the Jews as a people revolted against their Roman overlords, whom they considered to be oppressors. And as that revolt spread, then the Romans came and did what the Romans would do and do well, which is to bring in their armies, subdue people mercilessly, and make sure that it doesn't happen again. And so as the Romans began to fight the Jews starting in about 68 or 69 AD, after Anno Domini, after the time of Jesus, eventually they attacked Jerusalem, lay siege to it, first outer walls and inner walls, and eventually they get to the point where they are in the fortress Antonia, which is right near the temple, and a fire starts, destroys the fortress, and along with that then the temple is destroyed, the massive, great Herod of temple. is completely destroyed, except for one portion which now exists, and it's a temple wall platform. We refer to it as the Wailing Wall. Well, for Jews, these two incidents are not celebrations. They're commemorations and remembrances of all that they have as a people suffered. And to that, they also add then on Tisha B'Av the injustices that occurred when the Christian crusaders then came during the early crusades, and the destruction that came to their lives and to their country then. And then finally, they add to that the Holocaust of the 20th century in Germany. Tisha B'Av is a remembrance of all that they have suffered and endured, but all that they have lived through as well, all that they have endured through on behalf of all who did not endure. So as we gather today, we remember a Jewish commemoration of all that's occurred to people who are nonetheless, we believe, to be God's people still. Thanks for